EFF leader Julius Malema is about to brief the media in Johannesburg. Let's take you live to that.
Allow their project, which they've invested in, to be removed from office before they receive the guarantees of what they paid for to ensure Ramaphosa is elected. The EFF will not get tired and will ensure that Ramaphosa does not finish his term of office. We thus call on all principal members of the opposition and civil society to join in ensuring that Ramaphosa does not get away with the crimes he has committed. No one, no matter what so-called standing, must be allowed to defend and justify the crimes of money laundering, tax evasion, kidnapping, torture, and concealing of crime as matter of insignificance. These are crimes that will ordinarily result in a swift impeachment of any head of state, and any impression that seeks to portray Ramaphosa as the reason for stability in a country which is collapsing must be rejected with the contempt it deserves. As the third largest political party represented in the Parliament of South Africa, the EFF will also explore and participate in legislative and judicial measures to hold Ramaphosa accountable. This includes Section 89 committee process, which must lead to the ultimate impeachment of the president, as well as motion of no confidence. The EFF and a majority of opposition parties represented in Parliament appreciate these two processes address separate material failures and breaches of office by the president and are mechanisms to hold him accountable and also complement each other. We condemn the attempts by the South African Reserve Bank, the South African Revenue Services, the Financial Intelligence Center, and section of the South African Police Services who are currently involved in an illegal and unlawful cover-up of the crimes committed in Phala. We caution employees of these institutions that their efforts to cover up the crimes committed by Sir Ramaphosa will get them arrested and jailed for a very long time because they are defeating the ends of justice. Moreover, the EFF calls for the immediate resignation of the Minister of Finance and a pervert, Godongwana, who has added sexual harassment on top of his complete failure of managing the South African economy. The continued stay of Godongwana in office is a spit in the face of the 9,516 victims of rape who opened cases at police station between April and June 2022. It is also a reflection that we are led by a government which has got no regard for women. It is a government of a finance minister who abuses women in their places of profession. It is a government of president who tortures a female domestic worker because of his uncontrollable greed. If Godongwana had any respect for the office he holds and the women of this country, he would have long resigned. But he has not done so because he draws inspiration from his criminal president who is unrepentant in the face of calls for accountability. The EFF is further disturbed by the high levels of crimes which are afflicting South Africa. These include the mass shootings and death in taverns, the disturbing levels of murder, and most gruesomely, the concerning gang rape of 8 women in Krugersdorp. The latest statistics which reveal that there have been 6,424 murders between April and June 2022 confirms that our country is a nation that is engaged in a war. These deaths are higher than the number of deaths in the war between Russia and Ukraine and show that our people are being killed at an intolerable rate in our communities. The gang rapes in Krugersdorp are a sign of a country of men who have lost their sense of morality. There is no level of poverty, unemployment, or state of living that can inspire one to rape. There is a war against women in this country, and it can no longer be ignored. The EFF will form part and parcel of efforts to combating crime in our communities, and this begins by building formidable policing and invalidating the cultures and attitude within our society which diminish and objectify women. The EFF observes the 10th anniversary of the Marikana massacre, which saw 34 miners gunned down as a result of a toxic collision between the state and white monopoly capital. It is a sad reality that not a single individual has been arrested for the murder of the workers in Marikana, and even worse, the man who was at the center of the massacre was rewarded with a position of president of South Africa. The people of Marikana deserve justice, and as an organization which draws its birth from the painful moment in our country, the EFF will always pay its respect to those fearless mine workers who stood against a government which betrayed them and a capitalist system which uses them to generate wealth without developing our society. Over the past few weeks, we as the leadership of the EFF, in our capacity as members of parliament, have met with former Pick n Pay franchisees who are exploited and treated unfairly by Pick n Pay. Pick n Pay has used these black people to establish their presence in black communities and now have turned against them and left them with huge debts. We have written 2 letters to Pick n Pay requesting a meeting with them to raise the concerns of the exploited franchisees, and Pick n Pay has refused. We want to caution them that if they continue to refuse to meet the EFF, they will leave us with no option but to close all their stores in South Africa. We will write to them the 3rd and final letter, and we demand that they must positively respond this time, or we will be forced into militant action. There is no private company in South Africa that should refuse to engage with and listen to the concerns of the people, particularly when approached by elected members of parliament. EFF applauds the people of Kenya for engaging in a peaceful election which saw President William Ruto elected as the new president of Kenya. President Ruto must thus form part of the efforts of building an independent continent which is free from war and poverty. This morning, I spoke to President-elect William Ruto and congratulated him for winning the democratic elections in Kenya. We encouraged President Ruto to handle and preside over the transition with maximum care in a manner that must not degenerate into violent confrontations. We call on Mr. Raila Odinga to accept the election outcome and not form part of a tradition of causing instability and uncertainty on African governance. Mr. Odinga must humble himself and form part of government that will address the challenges confronting the people of Kenya and not allow history to remember him as an individual who was desperate for power at the cost of the progress of his nation. Finally, the EFF takes this opportunity to welcome the King Msizulu KwaZulu-Natal as the new king of the Zulu nation. The Zulu nation occupies a place of significance in the history of the continent as a nation that defied a colonial conquest and waged commendable struggles against forces of colonialism in defense of our land. The EFF further calls for unity within the Zulu royal family and for the acceptance of the new king who has assumed a great responsibility as a custodian of a collective history and tradition of the Zulu nation. It must also be noted that the presence of the people of Zulu descends from nations such as Tanzania, Malawi, Eswatini, Congo, and other various places in the continent confirms our long-held notion that Africans have always been one. Can assume its rightful place as a leader in development, utilizing its mineral resources. I thank you.
Thank you very much, President and Commander-in-Chief. We will now take a round of questions from members of the media. So when you are noted, please state your name and the media house which you hail from. Let's take the first round. Questions from members of the media, SABC. I've noted 1, 2, 3, 4. In that order, 1 to 4. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Khomotso Modise from Eyewitness News. I just wanted to ask for a response, please, a reaction on what's been happening with the Hilary Gadi matter. Last week we saw that back and forth with the suspect being arrested and then being released, lack of evidence against him. What's the CIC's reaction?
Number 2.
Zintle Mahlati from News 24. I just want to know, Mr. Malema said that the Gauteng province is ready, the EFF in Gauteng is ready for the conference next month, but there have been some members who've called out the manipulation of branches and stuff like that. Can you speak to that, and whether these issues are true and whether the party is facing them?
Number 3.
Lisa Gatano from the Major Guardian. Just on what you say on the war against women, Mr. Malema. You recently appeared on a podcast called MacG Podcast, I forget the full title. A man who's been called misogynist. Isn't this something that directly contradicts your messaging and your language that you're using now? Also, the disgruntled members that Zitla is talking about sent a memorandum to the office, I assume the office of the secretary, where they spoke about allegations of rape that were leveled against the original secretary and Bank. What happened in terms of that case? Has there been action against your own regional secretary? And what is the policy of the EFF when it comes to such cases? One would think, surely because of the language that you use, that any case like this would be something that you take with the seriousness it deserves. In terms of these regions, the branches, apparently there's alleged ghost branches and members. What exactly is the Secretariat doing about this? Is there a concern that should you go ahead with the provincial conference, that there will be, you'll see a situation like the ANC where you find yourself in court with challenges? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Number 4.
Some gather from the SABC have pretty much been covered by my colleagues. On Mr. Malema, you've been accused of meddling in the issues of the preparations for the People's Assembly here in Gauteng. Is there any substance to these allegations of you meddling and wanting to install and reward the regional chair of Ekurhuleni Dunga with the provincial chairpersonship position within the province? Thank you.
President.
Thank you very much. The Hillary matter, I think, is now progressing very well. There's been a court decision which assembled a very well-resourced and specialized team, which has led to the other arrest where the suspect, who appears to be a serial rapist, confessed to the murder. And we are involved. We are actually the ones that have led these people to the arrest of these ones. The last one who was arrested, his name is Biggie. It's a Nigerian in Nelspruit. He knew Hillary very well, and this person who confessed to murdering Hillary went to sell the laptop and the cell phone to Biggie. And Biggie, when he opened the laptop, found Hillary's names and then returned the laptop and the gadgets back to this suspect. But Biggie's problem is that he never alerted the police about that. And when this guy confessed to murdering Hillary, he said, I sold the gadgets to Biggie. And Biggie has since confirmed that he has indeed received those things, but he returned them when he saw Hillary's names. And what is so disturbing is that Biggie was at Hillary's home, was at Hillary's funeral, and everywhere else, but he never shared this information with the police that someone who looks like this came to sell these things to me, and so on. So he's being charged with defeating the end of justice, and he has been released for whatever reason. Perhaps an impression I got is that he is likely to cooperate with the police and share more light to confirm that indeed this guy had Hillary as guardian. Gauteng is going to PPA, and really, you are inviting me into gossips. You are, because you can't produce anything. Yeah, let me give you an example. Give me one dispute. One. You can't give me. All of you sitting here. You listen to gossip, you don't do thorough work, and then you bring gossip to me. Why can't you ask them, you send the letter of a grievance to the office of the SG, give me a copy. I'm not being unfair to you. You can't produce it. We received one letter from Mushe's branch in Soweto. What is that branch? 127. The letter says the EFF is dying here, things are not going well, and therefore I'm lodging my dispute. What must I do with that? What is the dispute there? Because the dispute must be based on the guidelines of the EFF. So you just get a person disgruntled writing a letter to you without narrowing it down. I must know, what is the dispute? I cannot just be told there is a dispute. There are no disputes in Gauteng. Nothing. There is a lady who comes from, is it Diepsloot? Naturena side, who used to work here at the EFF. And then she was fired. She worked at the GBV office, DSG. And she brought a fraudulent medical certificate. And then she was fired. She's the one who goes around doing voice recordings and all of manner of things. They are going to march to the EFF. We were here yesterday. We are here today. And I said to the SG, don't even worry. When they come here, we are going to ask for their leaders. We get into the media room with their leaders and we ask them a simple question. What is the dispute? They can't tell us. No one has got a dispute. These people that I said we suspended is the secretary of Wujanal, who went to preside over a branch. After presiding over the branch, you bring the attendance register back to the head office. The head office verifies if those people indeed are still members of the EFF, and if the signatures are correct, and then we call rondo members to confirm if they've attended the meeting. We found that the roll call, all those people is fraudulent signatures. There was no meeting. We called those people in where we realized, yeah, there is a fraud for real. We don't do random calling. We now call them one by one, all those people. All of them said, we never attended the meeting. So meaning the regional secretary of Bujanala went to sit in a toilet and just do signatures for those people and then brought it here. That is not just a fraud. It's undermining the growth of the organization. And therefore, it's a serious political misconduct which we deal with in the EFF decisively. The second one that we gave 1 year confessed. They confessed. They said, no, I know I was wrong. I will leave everything to the organization. So where we find wrongdoing, we deal with it thoroughly. So this is how quickly the process works. The branch of the EFF reaches more than 100 members, and then they submit them to us. We capture them. For you to be a member of the EFF, one of the requirements is that you must be a registered voter. If you are not a registered voter, the system is going to reject you. Then you must have banked your 10 rand. And that form must be accompanied by a proof of payment of that 10 rand. Then we capture all of them. Then we take what we call data back to your branch and say, guys, go through that list of members. If you are satisfied all your members are there, make us aware. Then they say, we're fine, these are our members. They bring it back to us. We convert it into an attendance register with name, surname, ID number, only a space for cell phone number and signature is left there. So people, by the time they arrive, they are signing on an attendance register that comes from the head office, which was confirmed by the branch that this is a true reflection of our membership. So what fraud is that? So that's why, Kir, you are bringing gossip. Now you are telling me about my involvement in the leadership of the EFF. Let me tell you, I play a very small role when it comes to PPAs. And my role is to go to a PPA, speak, and go. I don't do registration. I don't do membership. I don't run elections unless the PPA degenerate and requires intervention. Only then I will be called to come back and intervene. Other than that, all of this work is done by these two comrades on my right, the SG and the DSG. None of us is involved here except the TG when it is time to pay. And then the rest of us will be deployed to go and speak. Yes, as deployees, we will from time to time sit in meetings to check whether the state of readiness, are we launching branches, are we meeting our target, does the regions and PCT meet as required. So, really, you should be saying to us, in what? This is what you guys have done, and this branch was not properly launched. No one can say that. No one can say that. No one can produce any letter. My sister, war on women, what are you doing at McG? It's like asking a pastor, what are you doing in prison? McG, even if he's got disrespect for women and gays and lesbians, we have a responsibility to educate him. And we can't educate him by screaming at him from a distance. I told him when I was there how South Africans feel about his conduct and behavior. So I'm not going to sit away as a pastor from prisons because when I go to pray for murderers in prison and rapists, I will be told, yeah, by going there, you are also encouraging what you are saying you are standing against. I will still even speak to rapists themselves and try to persuade them to do the right thing. So I want to participate in McG to tell him that South Africans, in particular our women and particularly EFF women, have been refusing me to participate in that program because they are not happy with how he carries himself. Whether he's going to change or not, a message has been delivered not through gossip, right on his face. And through direct engagement with him, we hope he will become a better person. The CDBing secretary, we got the letter and we are following the case very closely. He hasn't been charged. You know, there is a painful story of Sindani. Sindani,
Enoch hasn't been charged as well.
Who's Enoch?
Enoch Kodongwane, he hasn't been charged as well. And yet you are calling for him to step aside.
But your levels of holding people, your standards of holding people, your standards are too low. You are extremely too low. You can't have a minister who doesn't deny that he asked for a happy ending and said to me, he's not charged. Enoch hasn't denied it. And he's a minister, a national minister. So by virtue of that office, you are held at very high standards. And your levels of standard are extremely low and highly disappointing. So we are saying to you, the matter has been brought to our attention. We brought the matter to the attention of the regional secretary, and we said to the lady in question, we must be briefed of every development. As a result, the DSG is sitting on that matter. There is Sindani, who was a member of parliament, who was accused of rape. We moved as the EFF and said to him, move from parliament and move from CCT. Sindani resigned and went to police station to say, I'm told someone opened a case of rape against me. I'm here, I'm handing myself over. They said there's nothing like that. Till today, he hasn't been asked, right, by any policeman about this matter of rape. It's how many months now? 8 months. It's 8 months now. Now we say, okay, let's leave Sindan. Our DSG deals with a GBV. She's heading GBV desk. Then she calls the victim. That's her job. We need to come see you. We need to arrange counseling for you. They make appointments more than 3 times DSG. She doesn't pitch up. The last conversation, the victim tells the DSG, my family said I must no longer talk to you, and therefore you must stop calling me. Then the DSG says, that's fine. Give us the contacts of the investigating officer, so that as the EFF, we work with the investigating officer to make sure that this matter find its a final conclusion. She said, no, I can't give you the numbers of the investigating officer. The guy is at home. The victim is refusing to speak to us. No policeman has spoken to the guy. We have taken efforts through the DSG to meet with the victim. She has never shown up, despite the fact that she has made commitment. So we are very serious about issues of rape. But that comrade equally has got a right to be heard. He wrote us a letter. He says, what must happen to me? Because you said I must stay at home, I'm staying at home. No one is talking to me. No policeman is talking to me. No EFF is talking to me. What type of fairness is this? That is the type of problems we are dealing with on a daily basis. Now, Enoch Godongwan, through the South African media standards, has been found in a massage with a lady and asked for a happy ending, forced this lady to touch him in an inappropriate manner, to a point where this lady ran out of the massage room, and she opened a case. And those allegations, as we speak today, have not been denied by the Minister of Finance. If anything, the Minister confirms, yes, I was there, but I was with my wife. But the information then reveals later, through cameras, that the wife of the minister is seen leaving the building, leaving the minister at the massage palace. So we're told, no, leave him. He has not been charged. That's a public office. The EFF regional secretary doesn't occupy a public office. We still demand very high standards on him. But the standards are more higher when you occupy a national minister's office. And because you have not been charged without, even when you have not denied the allegation, no, he must not leave the office. And that comes from women who say, no, he's not charged. Even if he has not denied the allegation, he must be treated like your regional secretary. Those standards are embarrassing and are not EFF standards. We hold people who occupy public offices with very high standards. And in the statement we show there, that Enoch is not only about sexual harassment, he's presiding over a collapsing economy. And therefore, we have no reason to keep him as a Minister of Finance. And I said this in the previous press conference when we were speaking about Enoch. One other thing about Enoch is that he's in and out of hospital. He's a very sickly minister who's not available. And I don't understand why he insists on wanting to be a Minister of Finance, despite the fact that he knows that his health condition is not in good condition and good for such a serious ministry that is highly, highly involved, which requires young and energetic visionary ministers who are in good health. So by all means and standards, Enoch does not meet any requirement with this latest allegation to be a Minister of Finance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. We'll take the second and final round of hands. So if you have any follow-ups or if you were not noted in the first round, this is your opportunity. I note number 1, number 2, the only 2 hands, the final round, going once, twice, number 3. Thank you very much. Number 1.
Mr. Malema, I'm in possession of a Gauteng memo here, which is written by your members and is directed to the Secretary General, Mr. Marshall Dlamini, to yourself, to the Deputy President, Floyd Shivambu, to the National Chairperson, Mrs. Veronica Menti, which speaks about allegations of irregularities in your branch people's assemblies, in the build-up to the provincial people's assemblies. They cite about 15 branches in Merefong, Mogale City. They cite Mfuleni branches, Midval, Lesedi, Johannesburg, and Ekurhuleni, and Tshwane as well, which speaks about them saying they've disputed a number of these branches. I can forward you the message for you to see as well. Then I question.
Please do that.
I then question you on the issues
Send
of.
me.
No, I'll send it.
I don't have it. None of us here have got a memorandum like that. Because read the guidelines as well. You don't write a memorandum as members. We will write a dispute as an individual from that specific branch. So members who write a memorandum on behalf of West Rand, Merafong, and they said in which meeting, under which clause, under which guideline. Because you can't. There's no such a thing. There's no such a structure in the year. You write a dispute as a member. It says how many hours, DP? 48 hours. You write a dispute and say things did not go well in this branch where I participated as a member. That memorandum from members. That's why when we said members, the SG says to me, members. Because it doesn't work like that. No one can write a memorandum for Western CDB. Where did they meet? And if they met to develop that memorandum, they met as what? Under which clause in the Constitution and the Code of Revolutionary Discipline and the guidelines for people's assemblies. But we're free to receive it. We don't mind. That's, I said to you, even if they come marching, there will never be a confrontation here in the EFF offices. They are more than welcome. The deadlines have passed, but we'll listen to them. And anyone with a legitimate case, we're prepared to rerun that branch and make sure that things are done in order in the EFF.
So in essence, just to finish, Mr. Malema, you are disputing the content of and receiving of this particular memo from your members. What is then the way forward for you to reach out to these members of yours whom I assume are part of those people whom you would want to be part of your 1 million members come the end of the year?
I said members are more than welcome to raise their dispute here, and there is no such a thing. I can tell you now. That's why it's written in a manner it is written. The reason why we give you example of Moshekoma's branch is because an individual member who belongs to that branch wrote to us. And when we verified the credentials, we realized this is our member. He comes from that branch and therefore has to be listened to. When we went through the dispute, we didn't hear anything. And we wrote back to say, but you are not helping us. You just say the organization is dying, and you're not saying, in terms of this clause, in terms of this guideline, things have not been compliant with. So, but we'll help anyone who comes to us. We don't have interest, some girl, nothing, none whatsoever. We listen to everybody, but we're not going to allow a situation where people insult the EFF on Facebook without any substantive submission to the leadership, and then hope they will be tolerated.
On my last part, the lady in question from Ward 27, whom you were speaking about, that she used to work here, she just sent a screen grab in essence saying that she was not fired, and shows a conversation between herself and the Deputy General Secretary in which she speaks about she was told to stay at home due to ill health. What is the true substance and the true nature of the discussions with that person on regards to the specific issue with her?
She was fired. If she didn't know, she must know now. She's fired.
Just to update the House President, the Deputy President had to attend to an urgent call, which is why he stepped out. We'll take number 2.
Sure. My name is Mawande from the Sunday Times. I've got 3 questions. First of all, Mr. Malema, you now say the Zulu kingdom must unite, but that to some may be contrary to what may have been seen to be you sowing divisions within that highly divided royal family when you tweeted about scavengers and everything like that. What do you say about that particular contradiction? I'm saying it in line with what you said now in the statement. 2, on issues pertaining to Marikana, if I recall well, at the funeral of Mama Winnie, President Cyril Ramaphosa, who was very freshly president at the time, made a public commitment that he was going to go to Marikana with yourself, and I don't recall you denying publicly that you were going to go with him. Whatever happened to those plans of taking President Ramaphosa to Marikana or of accompanying him to Marikana? Thirdly, on issues of Palapala, the referral of Deputy Minister of Intelligence, Zizigodwa, to the Select Committee on Intelligence, how far is that process? And also, when that process finally kicks in, I understand you sit in that particular committee. How do you mitigate the friendship and bias that you have towards him?
Sorry, please repeat which committee?
The Select Committee on Intelligence, the referral of the Deputy Minister for his alleged involvement in the cover-up of Palapala.
Oh.
Joined, sorry, yes. So, and the latter part of that question is, how do you mitigate your bias for him as your friend, which is, a publicly known information? Thank you very much.
Number 3, and the final question.
Lizak again from Mail and Guardian. Just in terms of the municipalities, Mr. Malema, there's a motion of no confidence against Mr. Randall Williams, the mayor of Tshwane. What is the EFF position on that? And in terms of the situation in Nelson Mandela Bay, where there's been the coalition with the ANC has somewhat collapsed. Where does the EFF stand? Because there's been talks of a motion of no confidence in that municipality as well. Was the CCT, did the CCT discuss the municipalities in any way?
Thank you, President.
Thank you very much. Calling for the unity of the Zulu nation, it's a principal issue. I do that with the EFF, that the EFF must unite. There are no divisions in the Zulu royal family. No, I mean, you should have seen the coronation. That was a sign of unity. We're not going to be entertaining people here who go around organizing small braais, call them in a small braai. We don't have time for such things. And you call that disunity. There is no such a thing. There's nothing like that. In the Zulu nation, we have one king. And the rest, well, that's why they call press conferences in 4 ways. There will be kings in 4 ways. There's no king in 4 ways. So they too know that there is one king and there is one certificate. We are fully behind that kingdom. And anything else is just fighting for resources or something else. Disunity is, you've got individuals of no significance who just call press conference. This thing that people are divided because someone spoke at a press conference, even if you speak alone, SG, out of so many people, you go alone, and then they were called, you are divided. No, there's no disunity. That thing, that coronation went smooth. That's what we expect of a king. Everything is buying, his speech, the presence of other dignitaries from other countries, and the leadership from different formations, their presence there gave every doubting Thomas a clear message that there is no doubt who is the king of the Zulus. It's unfortunate I had a CCT. I wanted to attend because it looked so beautiful from a distance. So if I didn't have a CCT meeting, even without invitation, I was going to attend and be with the masses there, so that I become part of history, that I was once part of a coronation of a king. It was a historic...
All right, the EFF, they're giving a media briefing covering a range of issues.